Previously on the Seventh Valkyrie, May puts a plan in motion to whisk Strena and Cyrus far away to the south. But getting these two youths across Edara without drawing attention is far easier said than done, and we'll find out why next on the Seventh Valkyrie.
Chapter 34 The Forest and the Fire. Strena, the 21st day of winter, sometime after midnight. Strena opened her eyes, standing knee-deep in water in a place that felt uncannily familiar. Around her was an enormous flooded grove, where trees grew so tight together she could barely see the stars above. But where starlight faltered, the glow of rainbow-petaled flare lotuses dotted the branches of the trees and the lily pads, drifting on the water and the wind, and then at times bursting into radiant showers of sparks and petals. Like twinkling stardust, those showers would fall upon the earth, the water, and the crooks of the trees to, in time, grow new lotuses. Somehow, Strena knew that this was not the waking world. But as she lifted a lotus from the water, stroking her finger along the iridescent petals before leaving it to float back down among the lilies, she could tell that this wasn't fully a dream either. A whistle echoed out across the glade, coming from everywhere and nowhere, and Strena spun around, looking for the source of the sound. The whistling grew faster and more frantic, layering and layering, but as Strena turned and tried to sense, suddenly the whistling stopped. And someone began to hum. Strena turned back in the water, and where there had been nothing but lilies and lotuses before, now, just steps away, there was a cloaked and hooded figure sitting cross-legged on the stump of a tree. He was swaying gently back and forth as he hummed along, first with 2 high notes, then 2 low notes, and then falling into that lulling melody that drifted off before circling back around again. Strena stayed where she was, the back of her neck tingling. Whether it was in the deep forest or the old city or a dream, if you found a new creature or a person you didn't understand, you had to be very careful. "Hello, Strena." The figure spoke in perfect Uveran with an old city accent. Strena took a step back. She understood him, but almost too perfectly. It was like he was speaking some other language, but Strena's ears translated it for her. Wait, that had happened when she'd first met... Strena took a quick step forward from excitement, but then stopped in place. Glancing down at the water, she noticed her eyes were glowing bright green, just like they had when she'd first met Cyrus. But something wasn't quite right. The hooded figure lifted its head, and Strena saw the glow of 2 golden points of light shining out from its deep cowl, but she could see no more. Once again, she took a step back. "You're like Cyrus," she said. She took another step back. "But you're not Cyrus." "There is more than one ghost of Valkyria. I am the fire of the world's ending." He uncrossed his legs and put them in the water. Hissing steam arose where his boots pierced the surface. "Can I leave here and wake up now?" she asked. "Not yet." "I don't want to be here anymore. It was really nice to meet you, Mr. Ending, but I would like to go now.
I don't care. I need something from you, and I need it tonight.
A chain reaction of flare lotuses sent sparks and petals spiraling into the air. And before they had started to fall, Strena reached for the power of the forest, green light bursting out from her eyes and setting her hands alight. She raised her hands, and vines, branches, and thick roots surged from the trees towards them, converging to a point somewhere between Strena and the fire. But before both sides of the living wall could weave together and close around her, they collided against a towering ring of flame that rose from the water to engulf Strena and the fire in a tight circle. The inferno sealed them in, charring away whatever branches and roots got close and sending billowing clouds of steam where it touched the water. Strena cried out and sank down to her knees, closing her eyes and feeling for the power of the forest somewhere beyond that wall of fire. She might have been trapped, but the power of the earth surrounded her in all directions, stretching out forever. If she could just pull it closer. The trunks of trees themselves cracked, and great woods pulled free of the soil. The lilies, the sunken roots, and the earth and mosses all battered against the wall of fire, still burning on impact, but far more slowly as the inferno struggled to respond to Strena's renewed assault.
Let me speak.
The fire called out from somewhere in the steam.
Stop fighting and listen.
Strena dropped to all fours, reaching deep into the soil beneath the water, searching for that golden light that she had felt with Cyrus, that impossible glow that had changed everything. And in the muck, sending all she had into the soil, she finally seized upon it. Something green and gold, something powerful and resonant and glorious. But as she turned to wield it, a shadowy figure materialized in the steam and shoved her head down into the water, breaking her concentration. With an iron grip, he held her as she fought, trying to recapture that golden light, but then she gasped and inhaled water, and she was coughing and desperate for air. Something stirred deep inside Strena in response, but then she was lifted up, caught a breath, and then was submerged again. Then lifted and submerged, and then just as panic began to settle in between the alternating fear and relief, the fire lifted Strena from the dirty water, holding her under both armpits as he took her back to the stump where he had sat. Strena tried to squirm and fight in his arms, but it took all of her strength just to fight the coughing and try to catch her breath with the steam-filled air. She prayed for Cyrus, for May, for the spirits of the forest to shield her and protect her. But just as she sought once again to reach out for the power of the earth, the fire placed her down gently and then strode a few steps back away from her, standing in the water. The ring of flames vanished, leaving them in the lotus-lit darkness, and with every slow breath Strena took, the steam settled, until they were left in the misty aftermath of their brief clash. Strena sat wild-eyed on the stump, curled up in a defensive position, still holding on to the power of the forest, her hands aglow in front of her. But then the fire spoke, raising his hands up.
Dreams are deadly for you and your visitors. I will leave, but first I need something from you. Your permission.
Strena lowered her hands a touch. Huh? I've never met you before. Why would you need my permission?
I just need it. Do it for Cyrus.
Why would Cyrus need you to give you? Why would Cyrus need me to give you my permission?
If not, he'll die.
Die? But no, the wolves said that they'd have other people to pick him up, and then we'd both meet up when we get to Edara.
He won't be there. Not if you don't give me your permission.
I don't understand how this works. You're kind of scary. I don't want to give you my permission.
You think I would be asking some stupid girl if there was any other way?
The inferno flared around him, but then he stifled it and it settled back down.
There is no other way. I need you. I would rather burn you than ask, but I need you.
He stood, walking through the steaming water until he stood just in front of her and offered a hand, palm facing up.
Place your hand on mine, or you will never see Cyrus again.
Why are you doing this?
Because I have to.
Are you trying to trick me?
No.
Strena squinted. As much as a precocious young girl with a sixth sense talking to an angry, fiery stranger in the world of dreams could tell, he did seem to be telling the truth. I'll give you my permission, she said, reaching out and placing her palm halfway above his. But only if you make sure I get to see Cyrus again. From deep within his shadowy cowl, his eyes flashed gold.
I accept your terms.
He placed his other hand on hers, clapping them together. Strena smiled, and then went to let go of the fire, but even as she released her grip, he held tight. His hands began to glow.
Our agreement is sealed. The next part might hurt a bit.
Strena's eyes went wide, and a wave of flames erupted from where their hands met and engulfed them both. Hey there! If you're hearing this, it means you're listening to the public version of this episode. I appreciate you taking the time and your interest in the series. It really helps the algorithm, it helps us grow. But if you are enjoying the show, maybe take a look over at our Patreon. We have uncut versions of the early episodes, access to new chapters before they're released for the general public, and you can shape the future of the series by deciding on new merch drops, bonus content, and more. You can get started for free at patreon.com/Seventh Valkyrie. That's patreon.com/7THVALKYRIE. Hope to see you there.